Welcome back to America's Voice Live. The national struggle over voting rights continues. Republican-led states are working to secure elections with stricter voter ID requirements and increased oversight for absentee ballots. Meanwhile, Democrats continue to push for their sweeping election reform bill called H.R. 1, or the For the People Act. And to get the latest on this, we're going to head on the Hill. Joining me now, Georgia Congressman Jody Hice. Thank you for joining me. Tell us about this bill, because we have this bill in government right now, the H.R. 1, or the For the People Act. This is not what Republicans want, and the media seems to be spinning this as Republicans trying to keep people away from the polls. Why?
Yeah, that's exactly how they're spinning it. And listen, this is nothing. In fact, really a better name is this is for the Democratic Politician Act. It's all about control for the political party of the Democrats. And that's exactly what it would provide for them. Why is it, the big question I have, why is it that no Democrats that I've heard, be it President Biden, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Schumer, or any Democrat for that reason, why are they not condemning voter fraud? Why are they not calling out cheating? And why are they not standing for election integrity? But instead, they're standing for ridiculous bills like this federal takeover of the election system, which would do nothing but enable the Democratic Party to have an advantage from here on out. It opens wide the door for voter fraud and cheating on their behalf. And it's wrong. We need to all stand for election integrity. End of discussion.
But these election integrity bills that we see in states like Georgia, this latest in Texas, they're actually expanding hours. They are making the election more secure. So how are they getting away with saying this is actually taking rights away from minority communities? Because that's what they're saying. And it's a powerful statement when you go out and say you're removing something from minority communities. How do Republicans come back from that, even though it's not true?
Well, the truth matters, and we've got to continue proclaiming the truth. Listen, my question, and I have been successful in asking people who are supportive of bills such as H.R. 1, or people who have been opposing the bill that took place and signed into law in Georgia, name me one thing that suppresses votes about SB 202, and they're unable to do so. These bills restrict cheating, but they expand voting opportunity. Again, that's something that all Americans, regardless of political affiliation, should want. We want the maximum number of people to vote who want to, but those who vote, we don't want cheating to take place. That's what these bills are attempting to do, and the left in this country continue to spin the narrative because it does not fit their agenda, which is absolute takeover of the Democratic Party. And that is un-American. We've got to fight tooth and nail to make sure that does not happen. Look, the same Constitution that grants all of us unalienable rights is the same Constitution also that gives us a government that is led by the consent of the governed. And the heart of that is the election booth. We've got to maintain the sacredness of the election in every way that we possibly can, and H.R. 1 destroys it.
So a lot of people are saying, why now? We come out of 2020. Obviously, there were a lot of bizarre changes that happened in 2020. Some secretaries of state took advantage of the situation with COVID. They did things that were illegal, but they weren't even dinged for them. Even though the judges came out and said, no, you can't do this in the future, they weren't dinged for them. So why now? Is this specifically because of what you saw in 2020 with those folks that took advantage of the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. The pandemic was the excuse to change all kinds of election laws and to do things in this country across the entire nation as it relates to elections that otherwise would never have been permitted. And because the pandemic provided an open door for this type of thing, now the Democrats want to jump on it and nationalize and codify those types of things that ended up disastrous for our election system over this past cycle. And they want to make it in such a way that it will benefit them from here on out. That's unacceptable. It can't happen. We cannot sit idly by and allow them to change the narrative and accuse Republicans who are trying to just maintain election integrity, and to allow them to accuse us of trying to steal elections when just the opposite is what took place in many instances this past election cycle, and now they want to nationalize it. That's unacceptable. We cannot go there. They've been wanting to cancel our voices, but through this bill, H.R. 1, they're now wanting to cancel our votes. And again, this is un-American. We cannot sit back and allow this to take place.
There is clear historical knowledge that there's always some amount of cheating or fraud, or however you want to put it, in elections. Of course, 2020 made that 10 times easier than we had ever seen before. So do you think that this pushback from the Democrat Party is making them look a little bit guilty in the 2020 election?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think the American voter, the American people in general, are smart enough to see this for what it is. Our founders recognized the potential for fraud to take place if those elections are centralized in the capital of the United States. And so, in order to make it more difficult for cheating to occur in national elections, they spread it out among the various states, and they gave elections the right of the various states to determine. Now the Democrats are trying to turn that on its head, bring it back to federalized control out of Washington, D.C., and thereby they will control elections from here on. I believe the American people are smart enough to recognize this for what it is. I believe this is something that, as the truth gets out and as people are educated as to the importance of each state handling their own election, the American people will stand for this. They will see H.R. 1 and other similar actions for what it is, an attempt to take over our elections and to literally empower Democrats from here on out. And I believe the American people will reject that soundly.
I agree with you. The American people are smart, and we thank you for coming on here and helping to educate them on what's really happening behind the scenes. But not just that. Thank you for fighting every single day. Congressman Jody Hice, thank you for being on today.
Thank you very much.